The Nexivore Emperor stood in his throne room, watching as his once mighty empire crumbled around him. Reports came in from every sector. His fleets were scattered, his generals confused, his defenses falling. All because of the humans. How is this possible? He demanded of his advisors. They are primitive. They barely have space travel. They should have been easy to crush. No one had an answer. The Nexivore had conquered 1,000 worlds over centuries. None had resisted successfully. None had fought back like this. At that moment, hundreds of ships appeared around the Emperor's homeworld. Human vessels flew alongside Confederation warships. The combined fleet moved with perfect coordination, using tactics the Nexivore had never seen before. Admiral Garcia stood on the bridge of the U.S. Avenger, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. Beside her was John Miller, the retired captain who had first met the aliens in Montana. "It's hard to believe this all started with a crash in my backyard," John said, looking at the Nexivore homeworld on the main screen. "Sometimes big changes start in small places," Garcia replied. She opened a communication channel to the fleet. "All ships, begin the final approach. Remember the plan. We want surrender, not destruction." The fleet moved forward. The Nexivore's remaining ships rushed to defend their homeworld, but they were disorganized and confused. Steve Bennett's virus still affected their communications. Many ships followed old orders, heading to the wrong places. "The Nexivore Emperor is calling," reported a communications officer. Garcia nodded. "Put him through." The Emperor's red face appeared on the screen. "What do you want, human?" he demanded. "Your unconditional surrender," Garcia said calmly. "Your empire is finished. Your military is in ruins. We can end this peacefully, or we can continue until nothing remains of your civilization. You cannot defeat us. We are the Nexivore. We have ruled the stars for 1,000 years." Garcia smiled slightly. "Yet it took humans only a few months to bring you to your knees." The Emperor stared in shock. For generations, no one had spoken to him this way. "You have 1 hour to decide," Garcia told him. "Surrender or face the consequences." Exactly 53 minutes later, the Nexivore Empire officially surrendered. After centuries of terror, after millions of deaths across thousands of worlds, their reign ended not with a grand final battle, but with a simple message of defeat. News spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Planets that had lived under Nexivore rule for generations celebrated their freedom. The Confederation, which had fought for so long just to survive, now found itself victorious. 3 weeks later, representatives from all worlds gathered on Earth for a peace ceremony. In a large hall filled with beings from across the galaxy, President Wright signed the formal treaty with the new Nexivore government. Ambassador Zalora approached John Miller afterward. "When my ship crashed on your world, I hoped for help," the alien said. "I never imagined you would save us all." John smiled. "Humans are full of surprises. That is what makes you so valuable," Zalora replied. "The other species of the galaxy think alike, following patterns established over millennia. But humans question everything. Try new approaches, imagine different possibilities. The moment humanity joined our battle, victory was only hours away. We just didn't know it yet." In the years that followed, Earth became a center of galactic culture and innovation. Human scientists worked with alien researchers to solve problems that had stumped the galaxy for centuries. Human creativity combined with alien technology led to advances no one had thought possible. Ships from Earth traveled to distant stars, exploring regions no human had dreamed of visiting. Children learned about alien worlds alongside Earth history, and throughout the galaxy, the story spread of how a small young species from a quiet corner of space had changed everything. When new threats arose, as they always did, the galaxy faced them together, with humanity leading the way with their unpredictable, innovative spirit. The qualities that made humans different had turned out to be their greatest strength. In a universe of ancient patterns, they were something new, something unexpected, something that would never stop surprising the stars. Admiral Lisa Garcia stood before the combined council of Earth and Confederation leaders. The large meeting room was filled with both humans and aliens, all waiting to hear her plan. On the main screen behind her, a detailed map showed the next 4 empires' territory. "Operation Checkmate is ready," she announced. "We will strike directly at the heart of the next 4 empire." The room filled with surprised whispers. For decades, the Confederation had only played defense against the next 4. The idea of attacking their home systems seemed impossible. "This is not just one attack," Garcia continued. "We will hit multiple targets at once. While their fleets scramble to respond, a small team will infiltrate their central command." She pointed to a red spot on the map. "The next Vor Emperor controls his forces from this station. If we can capture or disable it, their entire military will fall into chaos." A Confederation general stood up. "No one has ever penetrated their central command. It's too well protected. That's why they won't expect it." Garcia replied with a confident smile. "Lieutenant Kelly Johnson will lead the infiltration team." All eyes turned to a woman sitting quietly at the side of the room. Lieutenant Johnson had quickly become known for her daring missions behind enemy lines. Her team had already destroyed 3 next 4 supply bases using stealth tactics the enemy never saw coming. "My team is ready, Admiral," Kelly said simply. The plan was set in motion the next day. 20 human ships and 30 Confederation vessels jumped into next 4 space at different points. They attacked shipyards, communication centers, and fuel depots. As predicted, the next Vor sent their fleet to defend these targets. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Johnson's small stealth ship slipped through the enemy's defenses. Her team included 3 humans and 2 aliens who knew next Vor systems. "Stay close and move silently," Kelly whispered as they entered the massive space station through a maintenance hatch. "Remember, we're not here to fight unless necessary." The group moved through dark corridors, avoiding patrols. When they reached a locked door, Chief Engineer Steve Bennett stepped forward. Steve had a special talent for combining different technologies in creative ways. "Their security is good," he muttered as he studied the door controls. "But not good enough." He connected a human tablet to the alien system using parts from both technologies. His fingers moved quickly over the screen. "Got it," he said as the door slid open. Beyond the door was the central computer room. 2 next Vor guards turned in surprise, but Kelly's team moved faster. They stunned the guards before they could sound an alarm. "Steve, do your thing," Kelly ordered. The engineer connected to the main system. "This is amazing," he said. "From here, I can access their entire military network. Fleet positions, attack plans, everything." Kelly smiled. "Change their orders. Send their ships to the wrong places." While Steve worked, Kelly's team secured the room. Through their communications, they heard reports of the other attacks across next Vor space. The enemy was already confused, responding to threats from all directions. "Done," Steve announced after 20 minutes. "I've also planted our virus in their system. They won't be able to coordinate their forces for days." Just then, an alarm sounded. "They've discovered one of our strike teams," reported a team member. "Time to go," Kelly decided. "We've done what we came to do." As they retreated to their ship, chaos spread through the next Vor command. Different fleet commanders received conflicting orders. Some ships jumped to defend targets that weren't under attack. Others were sent far away from the real battles. Back on the Confederation flagship, Admiral Garcia watched the strategy unfold. The next Vor military, once perfectly organized, fell into complete disorder. "It's working better than we hoped," said Admiral Krulvor, standing beside her. "Their response is total confusion." Garcia nodded. "The next Vor have ruled through fear and overwhelming force for centuries. They never prepared for an enemy who thinks differently." "What happens next?" asked Krulvor. "Now we press our advantage," Garcia replied. "Their empire is off balance for the first time. We don't give them time to recover." Earth had changed in the months since joining the Galactic War. Factories that once made cars now built spacecraft parts. Schools taught alien languages alongside English and math. The night sky was filled with new ships coming and going. Major Frank Harris walked through a large training field in Arizona, where he taught Confederation soldiers how to fight like humans. 500 alien troops from 6 different species moved in groups, practicing ambushes and surprise attacks. "No, no," Frank shouted at a group of tall green aliens. "You're still moving in straight lines. Be unpredictable. Think like the enemy won't expect." A young alien officer approached him. "This goes against all our military traditions," she said. "For 10,000 years, we have fought with honor and clear rules. And for 10,000 years, you've been losing to the next 4. Frank replied gently. "Sometimes winning means changing how you fight." The alien thought about this, then nodded. "I will try harder, Major." In orbit above Earth, Dr. Nancy Clark worked on the planet's new defense system. After the victory at Proxima, everyone knew the next war would target Earth directly. Nancy had designed a shield using both human and alien technology. "Test the North Sector again," she told her team. "We need full coverage before the enemy arrives." Her assistant looked worried. "The sensors show a large group of ships entering the solar system. They're not Confederation vessels." Nancy's heart beat faster. "How many?" "At least 300 ships. They'll reach Earth in 6 hours." Nancy grabbed her communication device. "Alert Admiral Garcia. The next war are coming." The news spread quickly. Earth's 6 space warships were called back to defend their home. Confederation allies rushed to help, but most were too far away. Admiral Lisa Garcia stood in the Global Command Center, looking at the approaching enemy fleet on the big screen. President Wright stood beside her. "Can we hold them off?" the president asked quietly. "We have to," Garcia replied. "Dr. Clark's shield system will help. Our ships will fight. And we have one more surprise." Colonel Ryan West led Earth's fighters into space. 100 small, fast ships launched from bases around the world. They were new designs, built in the last month using lessons from the Proxima battle. "Remember your training," Ryan told his pilots. "Don't fight how they expect. Use Earth's gravity to your advantage. Hit and run." The next Vor fleet entered Earth's space with confidence. Their large warships moved directly toward the planet, weapons ready. They expected an easy victory against the primitive human world. Then Earth's shield activated. The next Vor's first attack hit the invisible barrier and scattered in all directions. Their commanders were confused. This technology was different from standard Confederation shields. "Now," Colonel West ordered. His fighters attacked from all sides, moving in patterns the next Vor could not predict. They targeted the enemy ship's weak points, which Dr. Martinez had identified in her research. The 6 human warships joined the battle, led by the U.S. Defiant. Captain Henderson coordinated with the fighters, creating chaos in the enemy fleet. For hours, the battle raged around Earth. The next Vor lost ship after ship but kept attacking. Their commanders could not understand how these simple humans were beating their superior forces. Finally, the Confederation reinforcements arrived. Admiral Krell led 50 ships into the fight, using the new tactics he had learned from the humans. Caught between Earth's defenders and the Confederation fleet, the next Vor commander ordered a retreat. Nearly half their ships were destroyed. The rest jumped away into deep space. On Earth, people cheered as they watched the enemy flee. In the command center, Admiral Garcia allowed herself a small smile. "This changes everything," she said to President Wright. "The next Vor thought they could crush us quickly. Now they know different." "What will they do next?" the president asked. "They'll regroup and plan a larger attack," Garcia replied. "But we won't wait for them to come back. It's time for us to take the fight to them." "You mean attack the next Vor Empire directly?" The president looked shocked. Garcia nodded. "They never expected us to defend ourselves so well. They certainly won't expect us to strike at their heart. The U.S. Defiant moved silently through space, its new engines barely making the sound. Captain Grace Henderson stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. This was humanity's first true warship built for deep space combat. 5 other human ships followed behind, forming a small but determined fleet. "Status report," Grace ordered. "All systems running at full power, Captain," her first officer replied. "The Confederation fleet will meet us at the Proxima line in 30 minutes. Grace nodded. She had spent 20 years in the Earth's Navy before being chosen to lead this mission. Nothing in her experience had prepared her for commanding a spacecraft in an alien war, but she was ready. "Communications, get me Lieutenant Russell," she said. Eric Russell's face appeared on a screen. He was now on a Confederation ship, teaching human tactics to alien soldiers. "The next VOR fleet is massive," Eric reported. "Over 200 ships heading straight for Proxima. They're confident and moving in standard formation." "Good," Grace replied. "They won't expect what's coming." When the human fleet reached the Proxima line, they found 50 Confederation ships already in position. The massive vessels were arranged in a perfect defensive line, just as they had fought for centuries. Admiral Krelvor's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Henderson, please take position behind our main battle line. We will absorb the first attack." Grace smiled. "With respect, Admiral, that's not our plan." "Communications Specialist Cooper, are you ready?" Daniel Cooper, a young man with quick eyes and quicker fingers, looked up from his console. "Ready, Captain. I've analyzed their communication patterns. I can break into their system when you give the word." The bridge crew watched as the enemy fleet appeared on their sensors. The next VOR ships were huge and blood-red, moving forward in perfect rows. They were a force that had crushed hundreds of worlds. "Now," Grace ordered, "execute Operation Lightning Strike." The human ships suddenly scattered in 6 different directions. The Confederation commanders watched in confusion as the Earth vessels broke formation. This wasn't what they had practiced. The next VOR fleet approached, their weapons charging. They targeted the Confederation line, ignoring the small human ships that seemed to be running away. Then the Defiant and its sister ships struck from multiple angles at once. Their modified weapons fired with unexpected power, cutting through next VOR shields that were designed to block frontal attacks only. "They're turning to face us," Grace's first officer reported. "Just as we planned," Grace said calmly. "Cooper, now." Daniel Cooper activated his system. After weeks of studying next VOR communications, he had found a weakness. He sent a signal that jammed their command frequency, then inserted false orders. On the main screen, they watched as confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Some next VOR ships turned one way, others another. Their perfect formation fell apart. "Now, Admiral," Grace called to Krelvor, "hit them while they're disorganized." The Confederation fleet, seeing the opportunity, broke their own tradition and attacked in the human style. They struck at the confused next VOR from multiple angles. For the first time in the long war, a next VOR advance was stopped completely. 20 enemy ships were destroyed. The rest pulled back to regroup. After the battle, Admiral Krelvor requested to come aboard the Defiant. The tall alien had to duck to enter the bridge. He looked around at the human crew with new respect. "In 50 years of war," he said, "I have never seen the next VOR retreat. How did you know this would work?" "We studied history," Grace explained. "Earth has had thousands of wars. We learned that surprise and adaptation win battles more often than superior numbers." Krelvor nodded slowly. "The next VOR will return with a new strategy. And we'll have another one waiting," Grace promised. "That's the human way." Word of the victory spread quickly through the Confederation fleet. For the first time in decades, they had hope. The tide of war had not turned yet, but it had stopped flowing in the enemy's favor. On the next VOR command ship, the Emperor received the news with rage. "Find out everything about these humans," he ordered. then destroy their planet before they teach the Confederation more of their tricks. Dr. Olivia Martinez wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the alien weapon on her workbench. For 3 weeks, she had led a team of Earth's best scientists to understand Confederation technology. The laboratory, hidden deep under a mountain in Colorado, hummed with activity as dozens of researchers worked on different alien devices. "Look at this power cell," Olivia said to her colleague, Paul Jackson. "It's 1,000 times more efficient than our best batteries, but the design is so formal, like they're following a textbook that hasn't changed in centuries." Paul nodded as he examined the weapon's firing mechanism. They built everything based on tradition. Nobody thought to question if there was a better way. He pointed to a small crystal at the heart of the gun. "This is what makes it work, but they're using it all wrong." Olivia looked closer. "What do you mean?" "They're channeling energy through it in a straight line," Paul explained. "But if we redirect it in a spiral pattern." He sketched a new design on his tablet. "We could increase power output by 40%. Across the room, another scientist called out. "The materials they use are strange too. Their ships are tough but heavy. We could make them lighter using our carbon composites." Day after day, the humans found ways to improve on alien designs. The Confederation scientists were shocked. What took them decades to develop, humans modified in weeks. Meanwhile, reports from space grew worse. The next war pushed deeper into Confederation territory, destroying everything in their path. Despite the success of human tactical teams like Lieutenant Russell's, the overall war was still being lost. Admiral William Carter stood before the holographic map in the war room, studying the movement of enemy fleets. Representatives from Earth and the Confederation gathered around him. "The next war have superior numbers," said a Confederation general. "They will reach the Proxima system within 1 month. After that, Earth will be exposed." Admiral Carter pointed to a spot on the map. "Then we make our stand at Proxima, not with traditional Confederation tactics, but with our new approach." He turned to a nervous-looking aide. "How soon can our factories deliver the modified weapons?" "The first batch is ready now, sir. Full production begins next week." Carter nodded. "And the ships?" "The U.S. Defiant will be ready in 3 days. 5 more ships the week after." A Confederation admiral named Krell Vor looked skeptical. "You expect 6 human ships to make a difference? The next war have hundreds." "Our ships are different," Carter replied. "Show them." The aide tapped on a control pad, and a new image appeared. It showed a ship unlike anything the Confederation had built. It was smaller, faster, with unusual angles that would make it harder to target. "We've combined your technology with our design philosophy," Carter explained. "Your power systems with our stealth capabilities. Your weapons with our targeting systems." Krelvor studied the design. "It looks irregular, unpredictable." "Exactly," Carter smiled. "Just like humans." The meeting was interrupted when President Wright entered the room. Everyone stood at attention. "The Confederation High Council has approved our plan," she announced. "They were reluctant, but they've run out of options." She walked to the holographic map and looked at the advancing red dots representing next 4 forces. "How many of our people will be at risk?" she asked quietly. "The first wave will include 2,000 human crew members," Carter answered. "All volunteers." The president nodded slowly. "And you believe this will work?" Carter looked her in the eye. "The Nextvor have never faced humans before. They don't know how we think, how we fight. We'll hit them in ways they cannot predict." "Very well," the president said. "Operation Lightning Strike is approved." As the meeting ended, Dr. Martins and Paul Jackson were called forward. "Your modified weapons will be loaded onto the Defiant tomorrow," Carter told them. "You two will go with them to make any last-minute adjustments." Olivia's eyes widened. "Us? In space? Against the Nextvor? We need our best minds out there," Carter said. "This is humanity's first real stand against them." We can't afford to fail. Lieutenant Eric Russell tried to stay calm as the shuttle docked with the Confederation battleship. 5 other human soldiers sat beside him, each chosen for their special skills. They were the first humans to join the alien forces, and the pressure was enormous. "Remember, we're here to learn as much as we're here to teach," Eric told his team. "Don't show off, but don't back down either." The shuttle door opened with a hiss. A tall alien with purple skin and a uniform covered in strange symbols waited for them. This was Commander Vextal, their new supervisor. "Welcome to the Starlight Defender," Vextal said in a flat voice. "I will show you to your quarters and explain your duties." As they walked through the massive ship, alien crew members stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked curious, others seemed doubtful. Eric heard whispers in strange languages. "They're saying we look weak," whispered Linda Cruz, the team's language expert who had spent weeks learning basic alien communication. "They don't think we can fight." Vextal led them to a training room filled with strange weapons and devices. "You will learn to use our technology," he said, "though I wonder what use you will be in real combat." Eric nodded politely. "We appreciate the training, Commander. Perhaps we could also show you some human combat methods." Vextal made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your primitive ways would not work against the next war." For 2 weeks, the humans trained with alien weapons. The devices were powerful, but designed for direct attacks in open space. The aliens fought with honor and followed strict battle rules. "They fight like it's a chess game," Eric told his team during a private meeting. "Everyone knows the moves and counters. That's why they keep losing." Then the alarm sounded. The ship shook violently. "Next for attack," shouted a voice over the speakers. All crews to battle stations. Commander Vextal rushed into their room. "Stay here where it's safe," he ordered the humans. "This is not your fight." "With respect, Commander," Eric said, standing tall. "This became our fight when Earth joined the Confederation. Let us help." Vextal hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me, but stay behind our soldiers." They rushed to a damaged section of the ship where Nexvor boarding parties had broken through. The aliens were tall with red armor and multiple arms carrying advanced weapons. The Confederation soldiers formed a line and exchanged fire with the invaders, both sides following predictable patterns. "This isn't working," Eric muttered as he watched more Confederation soldiers fall. He turned to his team. "Linda, Joe, circle left through that maintenance tunnel. Sam and Pat, go right through the air ducts. Ben, you're with me." Before Vextal could stop them, the humans split up. Eric and Ben ran straight toward a pile of debris, using it as cover, something the aliens on both sides never considered. The other humans attacked the Nexvor from unexpected angles. The Nexvor invaders, confused by the unusual tactics, broke formation. Within minutes, the humans had disrupted the enemy's perfect lines, creating chaos where there had been order. "Now," Eric shouted to the Confederation forces, "push forward while they're confused." Vextal, seeing the opportunity, led his troops in a charge. The combined attack drove the Nexvor back to their boarding ships. After the battle, the ship's commander, a tall blue alien named Zokthar, called the humans to the bridge. "Your methods were unorthodox," he said, studying them carefully, "but effective. Commander Vextal reports that you ignored standard combat procedures." "We used what works, sir," Eric replied simply. Zokthar's large eyes blinked slowly. "Perhaps that is exactly what we need." He turned to Vextal. "Integrate these humans into our combat teams immediately, and let them teach our soldiers their methods." As they left the bridge, Vextal looked at Eric with new respect. "I believed humans would be a burden in this war," he admitted. "I was wrong." Eric smiled. "This is just the beginning." The United Earth Council met in an emergency session 3 days after the aliens arrived. The large round table was filled with leaders from every major nation. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Outside, news of the alien visitors had spread, and people around the world waited for answers. Admiral Lisa Garcia stood before the council with a serious face. "We've confirmed their story. Our deep space telescopes have detected evidence of battles at the edge of our solar system. The war is real, and it's getting closer to Earth." An older man with gray hair banged his fist on the table. "We should focus on defending our planet, not joining someone else's war." "With respect, Mr. Secretary," Admiral Garcia replied, "hiding won't work. The next war will find us eventually. They've conquered hundreds of worlds. Earth will just be next on their list." Kate Brown and Alan Peterson, two scientists who had been studying the alien technology, walked into the room carrying strange metal objects. They placed them on the table. "These are Confederation weapons," Kate explained. "They're powerful, but they follow patterns. Everything they build follows rules and traditions thousands of years old." Alan nodded. "Their ships are the same, efficient but predictable. They're losing the war because the next war know exactly what they'll do in every situation." "And what can we offer?" asked a woman with a French accent. "Our best ships can't even leave our solar system." Admiral Garcia smiled for the first time. "We can offer new thinking. The aliens were shocked by our military history. The ideas of guerrilla warfare, surprise attacks, and changing tactics mid-battle. These concepts are almost unknown to them." President Samantha Wright stood up. The room fell silent. She had been quiet during the meeting, listening to all sides. "I spent the last 3 days talking with Ambassador Zilare," she said. "I've seen images of worlds the next war have conquered. Their practice is to enslave local populations and strip planets of resources. They're coming our way, whether we fight now or later." She walked around the table slowly. "We can wait until they reach Earth, when we'll stand alone. Or we can join the Confederation now and fight alongside allies who can help us advance our technology." "It's not just about fighting," Kate added. "The Confederation has offered to share knowledge with us. Medicine that could cure our worst diseases. Clean energy that would end pollution. The benefits go beyond the war." The council members looked at each other. Fear and hope showed on their faces in equal measure. "I don't like sending our people to fight in space," said a man from Brazil. "But I like the idea of facing the next war alone even less." One by one, the council members voted. By evening, the decision was made. Earth would join the Galactic Confederation. The next morning, President Wright signed the alliance treaty with Ambassador Zillara in a ceremony broadcast worldwide. The aliens' 4 eyes blinked with what seemed like relief. "Your world is now part of something greater," Zillara said. "Together, we have a chance." Within hours, plans were drawn up. The Confederation would send teachers to help humans understand alien technology. In return, human military advisors would join Confederation forces. John Miller watched the ceremony on TV from his Montana home. His phone rang. It was Admiral Garcia. "Captain Miller," she said, "we need experienced officers to train the first human space combat teams. Your background in special operations makes you perfect for this role." John looked at his quiet home, then at the stars becoming visible in the evening sky. "When do I start?" he asked. "Tomorrow," Admiral Garcia replied. "The war isn't waiting, and neither can we." John nodded, knowing the peaceful life he built was over. Humanity was taking its first step into a larger universe, and he would help lead the way. The night sky above Montana glowed with an unusual light. John Miller stepped onto his porch, coffee mug in hand, and watched as something bright cut through the darkness. It wasn't a shooting star or a plane. The object moved too strangely, wobbling and leaving a trail of smoke behind it. Then it disappeared behind the tree line with a distant crash that shook the ground. John put down his mug and grabbed his flashlight and jacket. As a retired Army captain, his instincts told him to investigate. He walked into the woods, following the glow that now lit up the trees from somewhere deep in the forest. After 20 minutes of careful steps through the underbrush, John found himself at the edge of a new clearing. Trees had been knocked down in all directions, In the center sat a silver oval craft about the size of a small bus. It was smoking from several places, and a deep gash ran along one side. "Hello," John called out, not really expecting an answer. "Anyone need help?" To his surprise, a panel on the side of the craft slid open. John's hand moved instinctively to his hip where his service weapon would have been years ago. The opening revealed a figure that was clearly not human. It stood on two legs but had blue-gray skin and a head that seemed too large. Its four eyes blinked at John in sequence. "We come in peace," the creature said in perfect English, making John wonder if he was dreaming. "I am Ambassador Zilara of the Galactic Confederation. We need your help." 6 hours later, John sat in his living room across from the alien ambassador. Two more aliens, who seemed to be crew members, were treating their injuries with strange glowing tools. John had offered them water and food, but they politely declined. "Our war with the Nextvor Empire has gone on for 53 of your Earth years," Zilara explained. "We are losing. They show no mercy to any world they conquer." "And why come to Earth?" John asked. "We don't have space travel beyond our own solar system. We can't help you fight an alien empire." Zalara's large eyes blinked slowly. "That is precisely why we have come. The Nextvor expect certain behaviors from their enemies. They predict our tactics because we think like them. But your species," the ambassador paused. "Your species is different. You are unpredictable." John laughed. "Being unpredictable isn't enough to win a war against advanced aliens." "You misunderstand," Zilara said. "Your technology is indeed primitive compared to ours, but your ways of thinking, your strategies, your willingness to try the unexpected, these are rare in our galaxy. Most species evolve along similar paths. Humans took a different turn somewhere." By morning, government vehicles surrounded John's property. Men and women in suits asked him many questions. The aliens were taken to a secure facility, but they went willingly, seemingly relieved to be in official hands. 3 days later, John was called to a meeting in Washington. He found himself in a room with top military leaders, scientists, and the president herself. Admiral Lisa Garcia looked at him with respect. "Captain Miller, you're the first human to make contact. We value your impression of these aliens." John thought carefully before answering. "They're scared. Whatever these Nextvor are, they've got the Confederation running. But they seem honest. I believe they really do need our help." President Samantha Wright nodded. "The question is, can we actually provide any meaningful help against an enemy with technology centuries ahead of our own?" A scientist named Kate Brown stood up. "Madam President, we've studied their ship. There are principles there we never imagined, but also approaches they never considered. I believe human creativity could offer something valuable." The president looked around the room. "The Confederation has shown us what's out there. A hostile empire that will eventually find Earth whether we hide or not. The question isn't if we should get involved in this war. The question is whether we join now, on our terms, or wait until the next war come for us." John Miller knew then that everything had changed. Humanity was about to step onto a galactic stage, ready or not.